Yeah, Navdeep, it is audible.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, all.
Yeah, all the
I
students, if you want, you people can share the mic and you can directly speak to Navdeep. And Navdeep, actually, one of our old student, he is currently in IFOS service. And maybe actually we can interact directly with him and what are all the doubts we have. And you can directly ask him. And thanks for the time, Navdeep. So,
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah, sure, 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 sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Navdeep sir, my name is Vikas sir. Good evening.
Yeah, hi, hi. Good evening, Vikas.
Navdeep sir, I basically wanted to know, what is the difference between, the life of an, civil servant or the life of an IOS, in the Indian Forest Service officer.
Okay, so basically, there are three All India services that you might know of. One is Indian Administrative Service, one is Indian Police Service, and the other one Forest Service. So these three services are All India services. That means the time you are allocated the service, you will be allocated a cadre. Hello.
Yes, I am listening, sir.
Acha, okay, you're there, right? So yeah, you are allocated a
Yes, sir.
cadre. So out of all the states which are there, you'll be allocated a cadre based on your preference. And once that cadre is allocated, you will remain in that cadre for your lifetime, unless you go for some other deputation. For example, if you want to go for some other ministry, let's say at Joint Secretary or at a higher level, you can join that and then come back to your own cadre. So it's all cadre based. And the other services which are central services, for example Indian Revenue Service, or for that matter Indian Railway Service or Postal Service, these are all central services. That means you are controlled by the central government, so you can be shifted anywhere around the country, and the roles that you play are different when you are in All India services, and the roles that you play when you are in the central services is a little different. So these are the two basic differences that you should know of. And then again, the life talking about, it's same for cadre based service. The others have a little bit of different lifestyle, and their controlling authority is also different. As in, they report to some other ministry, we report to some other ministry. So that is how the services are different. The mandate is also different. As in, police is policing mandate, forest is for conservation and increasing the green cover of a country. Administrative is about administrating all the other departments. Revenue is about income. So there are two parts of it: income tax and customs, GST related things. Postal is another. So there are different services. The mandates are different, but the the feel of, like, the quality of life is more or less same for every service. But again, there are two categorizations. All India services have a little different orientation towards their job, and the other services are a little different in that aspect.
Thank you, sir. But sir, I wanted to know, what is the difference between the lifestyle? I know that all India services are there are three all India services. But an IAS officer is performing at connecting people and tackling their problems, their lifestyle, their life problems. And same is the case of Indian Police Service. But how is Indian Forest Service different from that? If I will,
In,
if
in,
we will be the Indian Forest Service officer, how will be, our lifestyle? What will the
yeah, so
problems?
yeah, yeah, I get your point. I think the basic mandate, as I told you, is about conserving the existing forest and the wildlife and how to increase the cover. So it's the mandate of the service, but at the same time, there are a lot of developmental aspects to related to it. For example, wherever you work are mostly tribal belts. So those tribal belts are dependent upon forests for the livelihoods. For example, if you are manager of a national park, or let's say a sanctuary, so there will be a lot of people dependent upon that particular area for their livelihoods. So in developmental aspects, if you're talking about or how do you make an impact to the people in that particular manner, so you can say that the dependent communities, be it tribals or forest dependent, other traditional dweller communities, you contribute to their livelihoods directly. And at the same time, there are other aspects like, let's say, you want to promote various self-help groups who are living around the particular forest. So that is how you can engage with the public and increase the rapport between them and contribute to their development in that matter. So if you're talking about police service, police has the mandate of checking law and order, right? So in the same manner, in wildlife sanctuaries or let's say national parks, the mandate is to prevent poaching, or let's say to prevent illegal or mining. So all those matters are incidental, and they are related to the overall mandate of conserving the forest. So in and all kinds of things which you see in other services are part of our job as well. And it's just that in IS there are a lot of other departments that they have to cater to. But in our case, the mandate by part of the law. So yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
So I was answering somebody's question. It was about how to approach both the exams. So the best part of taking mathematics is that both the optionals are common in both the exams, and the other optional that I had preferred was forestry, because forestry is easy to handle and doesn't take much time. So the second optional is forestry for somebody who has taken maths as an optional in the other part, like the civil services exam. So that is the major difference. And the other difference is GS. In civils you have all the 4 exams, and here you just have 2 exams. So if you cover things for civils, then automatically you need not cover anything for GS in forestry in particular. The exam for English has a major component of an essay. Essay will also be taken care of if you're preparing for civils. It's just that some part of grammar is also added into it, which I think can be covered from the last year papers. So part is this, that for GS you need not prepare anything alag se. I mean, you can just focus on what you're preparing for civils. And for optionals, maths is common, and the other one can be taken as forestry, because other optionals like geology or agriculture, they are big optionals and they're difficult to handle. So like that is what I would suggest, that unless you have interest in any other optional or you've taken that as your graduation subject, then go for forestry and maths. So that is one, and the other things can be taken care of by civils exams only. Hello.
Sir, sir, I wanted to ask that, how the Indian Forest Service examination is different from the civil services examination. But the civil services exam, we have to give only one option. But in Indian Forest Service examination, we have to go for 2 options. So how to prepare, sir, for the 2 options? Because as a BSc student in mathematics, I have only mastery in mathematics, and how to prepare fast for the second optional.
Yeah, so the posting locations depends upon the state. Like if it's a big state like MP, or let's say a hill state like Himachal Pradesh or Uttaranchal, the postings can go to remote locations also. But more or less they are nearby city areas only. Like for Punjab, where forest cover is less, all our offices are in the city area, and we have to travel a lot wherever we have to go for, let's say, supervision purposes or field visit purposes. But in otherwise, the locations can be remote also, because let's say you are a director of Panna Tiger Reserve, or let's say any other tiger reserve. So there, the post your office would be outside the reserve, and the residents would also be nearby. So the locations can be a little remote as well across India in the initial years when the field posting is there. But once you go after 14 years, you are promoted to conservator of forest rank and all, then it is mostly office job which is mostly in the city areas nearby to those areas.
Sir, do we have to remain in the in the same state, or if we are allotted a cadre and we have to remain in the same state, or we will be able to get the opportunities to travel to different states also?
Okay, so interview questions related to maths. I was not asked any question related to maths in my interview, but generally you should prepare about Indian mathematicians and let's say basic things about what you have done in your optional. For example, what is the need for reading algebra, or let's say basic things about, let's say, physics related questions, uh, or any particular aspects about fluid dynamics. Let's say they can ask certain very small things, like not in detail, but as such for maths I think they generally ask about Indian mathematicians, as I've heard from other friends who had appeared for the interview. And also, why did you take maths optional? How will maths optional help you in the services, as in administration and all? For that you can give that it helps in logical reasoning, and I can understand things, analytical ability improve, and I can go into depth of things. So in that manner you can prepare certain answers. But for maths in specific, I did not face any questions, and not many questions are asked in this aspect. Yeah, so frequency of transfers. So there was this civil services board which was instituted, which is not so much functional. Generally it says that if you are at a place for 2 years you should remain there, and then only you'll be transferred or posted, but with the caveat that if for administration purposes or for some other purpose the state government feels you should be changed, then you can be changed. So in IFS in particular, for 1 year you are definitely there, but then after a year there are chances that you'll be posted out. So I would say the frequency of transfer would be minimum 1 year and maximum 3 years, 3 to 4 years. It doesn't go beyond 3 to 4 years because of political reasons or administrative reasons. They don't let you stay at one place. So the frequency in on an average would be 2 to 3 years. Okay, so the next question is, do we have to remain in the same state throughout the life? So as I said, it's a cadre based service. You are given a cadre and you have to remain in that particular cadre for your lifetime, as in that cadre has the post for you, and they'll not kick you out of that cadre. But you have options, like if suppose you are interested in some other ministry. For example, there are some seniors who are in the Ministry of Defense as joint secretaries in from the service, and there are some people who have gone up to the ranks of additional secretary and also secretary. So if you have interest, and if you have a job, if you have a good profile, then you can apply for various posts on deputation and then move on to other lateral postings in other departments as well. So yes, you have to remain in state, but then if you apply for deputation you can move across the country, and also at some foreign locations if there are positions for you. And then you have to come back again and then maybe join for some time and then go back again. So parent cadre will remain the same, and you can move here and there accordingly. I just need a as to whether question is answered or not, so that I can move on to the next question. Vikas had asked this. If Vikas is satisfied, he can reply yes sir or in affirmation. Okay. So next is by student 5890. It says what to expect while coming to field visits in the night, or let's say going at far off places, having a good time, and at the same time contributing to nation's greenery and other forms also. Like, it's not just about greenery, it's about wealth also, because tourism contributes to a lot of GDP in our country, and the effect that you can make in the lives of people is also immense. So all those factors considered, and the administrative things that you do, financial things that you do, apart from that, the life is of a photographer, let's say, and who loves to venture out in unexplored places. You have to trek a lot. You have to see various bird life. You have to see various kind of animals that live around, and you have to document their work. You're getting paid for the adventure that you can undertake in this service. So you have to get prepared for a lot of physical movement, because more than 60% of job is field work and the other ones are regular ones, like in the office. But if I compare with other services, it is more adventurous, and you tend to spend life, if you spend to time you tend to spend more time with the nature, which I think is a very good motivator, and you get to learn a lot of things from nature. So in that manner, you should be prepared for the active lifestyle, and you will be contributing a lot to society in the long run. Is that question getting training after selection and period of training? So the initial 3 months is in Labasna. So the training is combined, as in all the services get together and they do their training in Labasna for 3.5 months, which is called the foundation course. And after that, there is a time gap of 16.5 months, wherein you will be doing your training in Dehradun in the Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy. That is an elaborate course wherein out of 16 months, 6 months would be traveling, as in traveling around the country and also abroad for various exposures to wildlife and forestry related practices. So it's a very fun filled, it's a lot of learning and also full of fun. And I don't think such an extensive touring program is included in any other service. So yes, after getting selected, we go for Labasna for foundation course, and then we go to IGNFA for completing the course, and then we go to our respective fields. I was preparing for civil services, and this service was also of great. I mean, I had great interest in this service as well. So I was of the opinion that I should give both the exams, and whichever exam I get selected in, I'll choose that. So I got a good rank of 21, and I thought that if I don't like the service, then I'll probably appear for other exams. But 2 years and 3 years into the service, I think I find it extremely satisfying. And at the same time, I think there's a lot of scope, especially in an area which has less forest cover, in terms of how we can increase it and how we can collaborate with other agencies like district administration or NGOs and increase a lot of livelihood avenues for people. And so that's a very good motivator for me. So that is why I did not go for any other civil services exam after getting into the service. So it's a nice experience, and a bit more relaxing than other services. And hence I would say that this is something you can choose for your career if you do not have any other aspirations. I mean, if you have some other aspirations as to uh, having more exposure to certain things, I think this service gives you a lot of exposure in that aspect as well. Let us just go through the questions once again. So Aman has asked, how much does scaling affect marks in mathematics, and how is question paper and evaluation different in CSE and IFS exam? So both the exams are checked by almost the same evaluators. So the scaling part and the evaluation part is more or less similar. But at the same time, scaling is a lot in mathematics, especially in paper one. In paper two, even if you have attempted for, let's say, 180 marks and you've attempted it correctly, you are likely to get above 150, like out of 250. Similarly, in paper in IFS exam also similar things happen. Similar things also take place in paper two, but in paper one there's a lot of scaling. As in, it's more or less a binary sort of a thing. So if you have attempted for, let's say, 220 marks, then there are chances that you'll get around 170 or 180. But if you have attempted for, let's say, 170 marks, and I mean you have attempted correctly for 170 marks, then your marks would go down as 100 also. I mean, there's a lot of disparity in that manner. So if you are at the higher side, the scaling would be less, but if you are a little lower side, the scaling would be tremendous. So that is one thing which has to be kept in mind while maths is to be taken, because maths is a very risky optional in that manner. If you score really high, your scores will be much higher than other optionals. But if you score average, your scores will go way lesser than other optionals. So that scaling is definitely there, especially for paper one. But for paper two, that scaling is not there. It's more or less similar to what you have attempted. So is that question answered? So I can take other questions. Okay, so next question is about how would how would one study to achieve, sir, in any plannings you can share? Okay, is it allowed to take? So plannings, I would say that first of all you should prepare for prelims, because prelims is the major impediment in the whole journey. Prelims, uh, as it is, has become much more difficult than our time, because in our time the questions were more GS related, but now I think they are GK related. A lot of trivia is being asked, so that is the major thing. So for prelims you have to prepare almost everything. I mean, you have to see everything under the sun. uh, Even if you are not able to go into deep at a particular topic, you should devote time for all the subjects equally. For example, environment, for instance, was not so much important earlier, but now about 16 to 17 questions are asked from environment. So there are standard sources like that, like Shankar IS or other let's say Vision IS exams notes which are there. But apart from that, you should know the mandate of all the basic agencies which are involved in environment. So that all those type of questions are asked, apart from the general questions on current affairs, or let's say definition type questions. So similarly, for all the other subjects, the strategies are a little different. For polity, you have to uh, go through Lakshmikant properly, as in not just going through the book in a linear fashion, but also in the same way you have to attempt a lot of questions from all the papers which are lying in the market. Like in Hyderabad, I'm sure there are a lot of coaching institutes which give out papers. So you should solve as many papers as possible. That literally helped me, because in the last attempt I scored about 150 marks, and most of my time had gone to solving papers which were asked by all the institutes which are there. The more questions you solve, the more mind manner. For example, even if you have to make a guess, or let's say you have to just eliminate out of probabilities, your mind will start working in that manner, and you'll be able to score more. So start solving papers, especially at this point of time when prelims is approaching. Start solving as many papers as possible. Even if that particular line has gone into your mind, that photographic memory works, and you will be able to hit the right answer. So the for now, I think it is best that you attempt as many questions as possible from different institutes which are lying around. And with respect to mains, I think the focus is entirely on optionals, and the general studies part is more or less covered if you're studying the civils part. So that is the gist of planning. I think it's a longer topic. I don't think the time or the situation is right for it, but I think I've covered a part of it. So is that okay? Student 5896. Okay. So next is by Pratyush Jain, who asks, is an IFS officer allowed to take preparatory leave for other exam while continuing into the present service? So yeah, now they were planning to do a little bit of changes in this aspect as well, but during our tenure, we were not allowed. As in, if we wanted to give the exam, we could skip this foundation course, that is the 3 months initial period, but we had to attend the IGNFA training. So if you do not want to attend that training and you want to give 1 year gap in that, so you would be allotted the next year. So 1 year will get wasted in that manner. But you can skip the foundation course and take up that course in the subsequent years, as in the next year, where the course would be held in Hyderabad and not in Lavas. So the option you have, but if you want to take EOL, for example, the EOL concept is there in IRS service, wherein you'll be allotted the same batch, but here the batch will also get changed. So if you do not join in the present batch, the next year you will not be, you will be given the next batch. So you'll become 1 year junior to that batch. So that problem is there. Pratyush, is that clear? Okay, so the next question is, how is work-life balance when compared to other services? I would say that there are times wherein you have to spend nights at field for, let's say, elephant kills, also relocating and to ensure elephant killed by enrage. That time, or let's say when tribal problems are going on and there are a lot of agitations, that times there are sleepless nights. But that is also a fun part of the job. But overall, I would say as compared to other services, for example, police service, the life is a little chill because you can manage field work and office work and go back home. And during weekends, there are not much of nature there in the you can feel the services. For example, IS or IPS, those kind of jobs are a little less. So compared to other services, I think the balance is well maintained here. But at the same time, it's not just about these fixed kind of roles. There are other roles you can venture into. For example, during COVID, I was a nodal officer for the entire district for ensuring that migrants go to their own place. So those kind of special positions can voluntarily or for other fields. So there's a lot of scope in that matter also. Okay, so the basic structure of the organization is that there's a DFO, which is called the Divisional Forest Officer, who is in charge of a particular division, and under him are forest rangers. Basically, a division is divided into various ranges, and there's a range officer who will be manning that particular range, and then under range officer there is a block officer also called a forester, and below that are beat guards. So beat guard is the functional unit of the entire organization, and then between ranger and DFO there is ACF post also, assistant conservator of forest, also called deputy DFO at various places. So this is the basic hierarchy when you are in the field. So let's say after you are done with your field work, like for 14 years, you are on field and then you become conservator of forest. So conservator of forest has various divisions under that particular circle. So above division, there's a circle which is manned by conservator of forest, takes care of these divisions. And above that is chief conservator of forest, which is called CCF post. And above that is APCCF, that is additional principal chief conservator of forest. And then the entire state is headed by the PCCF office, which is the principal chief conservator of forest. So as you go higher up the ladder, the arena of your jurisdiction increases. And if you talk about a DFO in particular, it depends upon which area that particular DFO is situated. Accordingly, the area would be defined, and approximately about 60 to 70 people are under him directly, and then indirectly, like the laborers who do the plantation work and earth work would be more than that. So in a way, you will be manning about 600 to 700 people in a particular division. And as you go higher, the jurisdiction will be proportionately the people under you whose responsibility is under your shoulders would be increasing. Is the life adventurous? Yes, it is in fact quite adventurous because if you are, let's say, in Northeast or any other hill states, the work is about checking about illegal felling or let's say illegal mining or undertaking plantation, uh, undertaking various research opportunities which are there. So wherever you go, the field work is nature itself, as in you will be exposed to lakes, forests, waterfalls wherever you go. So your part of the job is going through the forest and understanding the dynamics of it, understanding the ecosystem through which the entire food chain survives. So understanding these aspects, which are part and parcel of your job, you have to go to the field, and when you go to the field, you have to face a lot of such adventurous treks. So I think when you're getting paid for what you probably like is something that we should all aim for. So passion, you follow your passion, and at the same time you're contributing to the service of the nation. So that's a very satisfying feeling. So yes, adventure along with responsibility makes a very good combo. So that is what keeps me motivated to work in this field. Okay, Aman, for forestry optional, so there is a little difference in at the time when we were preparing for it and now, as you will be appearing for it. Because when I appeared, this exam used to happen just before the civil services exam mains, and now it is after that. So the competition is obviously much higher as compared to before. So when I was preparing, I took about 1 to 2 months to complete the entire optional. I was not, as in my aim was that I should give the exam, but I did not prepare for it with much sincerity, I would say. I just went through the basic things, could not complete the syllabus also, but just understood the various aspects of it, and some parts of the syllabus, like about 80% or even less than that, 60 to 70% of the syllabus was covered by me, and I was able to manage the exam. So in that aspect, the exam is easy, forestry exams to crack, as compared to other topics like geology or agriculture, which is quite lengthy and less scoring. So forestry has an edge. So you can refer to basic books which are there on the internet, and with 2 or 3 months of dedicated preparation, let's say 4 hours a day, you will be able to crack the exam with ease. So that is why I would just recommend that the second option that you want to take, that you should be taking, should be forestry. Present posting, I was posted at Pathankot. Pathankot is at the tri-junction of Himachal and Jammu and Kashmir. And presently, I am posted at Bathinda. Bathinda is towards the south of Punjab. My work is related to Forest Corporation, wherein we sell tenders for development, so take various other forest produce related works like wooden crates or furniture. Basically, it's a profit making venture of the government, wherein we are related to forestry. So I am presently posted as that, but that is more of a deputation post, not like core forestry post. So presently I'm in Bathinda, but before that I was there in Pathankot for 1 year. Uh, what are the emoluments and okay, I don't mind that because it's there on the public domain. It is not something which is private to me or anything. The structure of the salary is level wise, like for central employees and for all India services. It is a little different than state people, because in state you get a grade pay and you get a basic pay, but here you just get a basic pay at various levels. So the moment we enter the service, we are at level 10, which is that of the rank of under secretary. So we get the payment of about 56,100 rupees as the basic pay. On that, you get DA, that is DNS allowance, and HRA if you don't have a house, 12.5 and 20%. I mean, it varies from state to state. And apart from that, there are some other perks which are there, like financially in that manner. And uh, there are then the deductions, basic deductions happen like income tax and GIS tax and other things. Apart from that, the perks that you mentioned, you get a house, like a proper big house, like forest houses, because this service is a very old service. The houses dates back to about 100 years, so they're all like big lush bungalows, and you get good security, and at the same time all the basic amenities which are there, perks and facilities which are there. For travel, you get tickets for free, as in you'd have to apply for it. If you are traveling through the national carrier, that is Air India. And then basic things, as in terms of living standard and other perks and emoluments, they are similar in all the all India services, be it IS, IPS or IPS. So if there are no more questions, I would just like to maybe conclude by saying what you're doing right now is going to give you fruitful results if you are sincere enough for the whole journey. The journey itself is very beautiful. There would be times where you'll be demotivated, you'll be a little anxious or in a little depressed state. Don't let that phase be prolonged. You are bound to have that because you are a human, and everybody gets through all these emotions. But don't suppress them, but don't let them linger on to you for long. As in, just be there, just realize that yes, you are in a low phase, and that is okay, but don't let it happen for more than 1 day or 2 days. So if you are like totally disoriented, take a break, take a half day break, go out with your friends, talk to your people, talk to your family members, and try to come back to the original self. So let those ups and downs be part of the journey, and they're very beautiful turns that you will enjoy later in your life. So just be there in the moment. Consistency is what matters more than your hard work, or let's say your smart work. Consistency should be there, and don't go into much of knowledge gaining, as in just take the inputs and make notes and revise them again and again rather than reading everything. As I said, like if you want to become a collector, don't become collector of books. And it's not about gaining much knowledge. It is whatever knowledge you have, whether you are able to implement that during the exam. It is all about temperament and the psychology during the exam. So if your temperament during preparation remains good, the exam will also be really good. So apart from hard work, the attitude is what matters. So if you have that right attitude, you'll be able to scale the exam properly, and then the life will start after you have cleared the exam, and that is a very good life, full of adventure, full of challenges, and something that you'll be looking back and having a satisfying experience after a few years. So that is what I think my message would be. What is your second optional? My second optional was forestry, as I told you. First optional was maths, and I was giving test series. I had joined Indian Civil's test series and was giving the exams there as well. So yeah, my second optional was forestry.
Right. So any other questions you can ask? Okay. So if there are no other questions, so maybe actually we can conclude. So I think so. Thank you for your valuable time, Navdeep. So this
Yeah,
is
sure, sir.
on behalf of the students, and it will be so I think a great thing we had an interaction with you, and most of the doubts getting clarified. And so yeah, very nice speaking to you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, and I had a great time. If they have any doubts, they can ping me, and I will be able to answer them. And I think if any other doubts related to the exam, or let's say for service, or generally they want to talk, they can approach me, and I think I'll be able to help. And I would be happy to help. In fact, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Okay.